How has progress been since the last time we talked with you with the team overall?
Progress has been good. We went through, I think the last time I talked to you guys was a winter. So spring ball was a success. We had a great training cycle throughout spring ball. It was good to see those mid-year early enrollees perform. They've all thrived in the system. They continue to thrive. And then really the biggest change is we got the summer enrollees who are here. Most of them arrived in May, so they've got about 3.5 weeks under their belt, and they're in the system. So new personnel, a couple new faces, but for the most part, everybody's doing a great job. I know we talked last time in winter. Leadership was a big hot topic for us. I think we got some guys on the roster right now who are doing an outstanding job in leading this program. And you know, Olu is one guy that jumps out to mind. Dom DeLuca is another. Keaton Ellis, Theo Johnson. You know, those 4 guys I think have done a really, really good job, outstanding job as far as finding their voice, developing their role in a leadership position on the team.
What's kind of the goal with Olu going into this season, strength-wise, knowing that he's already looked at as a very high draft pick? Where are the areas where he can get even better?
Flexibility has always been a thing with Olu. It's always been in the area that we've addressed with him from the very get-go when he got here in high school. He had some mobility issues in his lower body, not issues, but deficiencies in his lower body that we continue to address to this day. But you know, he's a guy who continues to get better and better. You know, even though you look at him, and he is a highly sought-after NFL prospect, he's also a young man who continues to develop. You know, he blazed a 40 during the 40 times for us this past spring. I don't have the number offhand, but it was fast for a big man his size. It was
like
really,
rough area.
It was elite. I want to say it was sub 5.
Wow.
Yeah, so 4.99. It was very, very elite for a guy his size. So we continue to work the small things with him and just make sure he's healthy. But at the same time, we don't train him any differently. We're not going to have the white gloves on for him and treat him a certain way just because he's being talked about a lot going into the season. We stay aggressive with him. We continue to develop him, get faster, get stronger, get more powerful. Yeah.
Chuck, where's Dante Cephas at athletically, and how difficult is it when a guy comes in kind of this close to the season and getting him where you want him to be?
I mean, time is obviously, you wish you had more time with these guys, but Dante, we've also had a really good relationship with him since he announced his transfer to us. So he did a good job preparing himself before he got on campus, which was a big part of his ability to. He's doing a really good job right now in team workouts. We've got some things that he needs to work on that we will address. But I'm pretty happy with Dante so far. He's been really solid in just about all areas. What the key for Dante is, or what's good for Dante, is that he knows a lot of guys on the team. He's friends with the guys, and he kind of fit right into culturally. But I'm happy with Dante so far. He's doing a good job.
To extend that, how about Trey? Trey Potts coming in.
Trey, same thing. You know, he's done a solid job. All of them treat themselves and they carry themselves like vets, like they've been in the program before. So nothing is really a shock to them. Anxiety is not really an issue with these guys. They know what the day-to-day is. And that goes a long way for these new guys. That's probably where you see the biggest differentiation between them and the other summer enrollees who are just coming from their high school graduation or high school prom. You know, they show up to the workouts and they know exactly what to expect from an intensity standpoint, from a volume standpoint. They're not shocked by everything. But Potts has done a really good job. You know, you can already kind of see him getting a foothold within the locker room. Guys really like him. He's got a great personality. But we got some developing to do, and we're going to do it.
Would you put Ford in that same boat, Alonzo Ford, or where do you think he came in coming up from Old Dominion? What are some of your areas of focus with him at this point in time?
Alonzo is probably, he's in a different, just the way I categorize things in my mind, just because he's a younger guy. And he hasn't been in college as long. So I think by default, automatically that makes him a little bit more of a developmental guy. And just off of baseline evaluations with the guys, which we do with everybody that comes into the program, he is going to be a little bit more of a developmental guy for us to get up to speed with what we expect out of the defensive tackle position, which is not a negative at all. It's just going to take him a little bit longer.
How about some of the freshmen that have come in? Is anyone stood out to you in that group of players from the summer enrollees?
From summer enrollee standpoints, I'll say King Mack is wildly explosive. He's got a lot of athletic traits that you love to have at the defensive back position. You know, King jumps out. Vicky Mapoye looks like an NFL player right now. Now we got a ways to go in a lot of different areas, but just as far as getting off the bus and walking in the locker room, he's pretty impressive to look at. Those two would probably be the two that kind of jump off the map. Sorry, I got to check my notes. Yeah, and then I give a little bit of love to Cam Wallace too. You know, Cam has done a good job coming in. He is a worker. He's got a great work ethic, and I think he's gained a lot of respect early on, just off of his tempo and the way he approaches these workouts.
James had said that Abdul tested really well last year running. What strides has he made in strength and speed, and what's his ceiling?
I mean, Abdul he's freakishly strong. He's freakishly powerful. For a guy who's his size, you know, he's floating right around 250 pounds right now. He's got very, very special testing numbers, and he's got to continue to be the same guy every day. But yeah, I mean, he's freaky on all performance metrics.
And another linebacker, Rojas. I mean, I think you had spoken to how he kind of developed himself since getting here. Can you just address that a little bit more? Because he just looks kind of like a different guy now when we see him at camp.
Yeah, it's because he is basically a different human being right now. He was about 195 pounds when he got here, and now he's walking around at 229, 230. What I'm most happy about with Tony is once we got the football in hand, once we got into spring, you know, we were through winter workouts. It's one thing for guys to make this big jump in weight throughout the winter, but then you get the ball in hand during spring, and they start running around the field, and they have a hard time holding on to that body weight. He's done a really good job of maintaining that body weight. He was able to hold on to it all the way through spring, and he's just, you know, he continued to build off of it during the summer. So I'm happy with Tony. I continue to be happy and impressed with Tony.
You use the term freaky with regard to Abdul. There's the freaks list that comes out. The Athletic puts that out. Who would you recommend from this team for consideration?
Nobody right now. I still got another cycle. We got the summer cycle weighs in a lot, so I'm not gonna tag anybody. I mean, we've got a lot of candidates. I'll say that, but look, the biggest thing is you got to be able to do it in season, all cycles of the winter, all cycles of the spring, and all cycles of the summer. You know, if you can consistently do it cycle after cycle after cycle, you know, that's what separates the freaks from the rest of the guys just playing the game,
Chuck,
to me.
I'm sorry. Chuck, can I ask you about two of my local kids?
I'm sorry, the who?
Two of my local kids, Javen Williams and Joey Schlaffer. What have you seen from them since they got here in January? What do you hope you see going forward?
So Joey, I'll start with Joey. Joey is actually, I didn't have concerns initially when we first started to run him around and move him, a lot of his change of direction work and even top end speed work. He didn't move initially the way I thought he was going to, but he's really smoothed out in his change of direction work and even his testing number, his speed. He has gotten tremendously. I mean, he's done a really good job in the movement areas of getting better. So that's what I'm most pleased about with Joey. He's definitely taken his time on campus, and he is, in the pure sense of development, he has developed, and he's done a really good job at the time that he's been here. Then the other one, Javen, raw, he's powerful, he's not the strongest. You know, at the root of all power and explosiveness, you've got strength. We need to get him stronger, and that's what he knows that, and that's been a big point of emphasis with him. And he's done a really good job. I like Javen's attitude. He's been consistent. I'm really happy with both of those guys. I think they're going to be great players for us, but they just got to continue to develop.
I'll ask you about my other guy, Singleton. Where can he continue to grow? Where do you see him growing with regards to you?
I mean, the guy is, you talk about freaks list. If I had a candidate, that would be the one right there. But for the exact reason I said, he approaches training the same way, Saquon approached training, the same way Miles approached training. He's the same dude every day. We're doing some things right now from a body awareness standpoint, stability, proprioception work, his single limb movements, change of directions that I think he can improve on. He's obviously got the top end speed. He's obviously powerful. I don't think we can ever get to the point with any of our guys where we're efficient enough. So body composition is always going to be a thing with every one of our guys. Those are probably the areas that we focus on the most with him right now.
How does he approach training? He said he kind of approaches it like Saquon. Miles Sanders.
The same dude. Again, they're the same guys. Like, I know exactly, regardless of what's going on outside of the Lasch football building or outside of the practice fields, I know exactly what I'm going to get out of Nick when he comes in the weight room, or when he shows up in Haluba, or when he shows up out on the field for a run or a lift or whatever it is, for a recovery session that day. I know exactly who I'm going to get. I know exactly what his approach is going to be to that training session. And I'm telling you, that can't be stated. I can't state that enough. Like, it's a huge piece of success for these guys.
You mentioned at the beginning with working on flexibility. What does that do for an offensive lineman? And would you say it's an underrated trait in an offensive lineman?
Well, no offensive lineman wants to be known as stiff and high. Okay, when you're stiff and high, you're off balance. And Chop Robinson will throw you 15 yards up the field if that's the case. So you got to be flexible, and you got to be able to drop your hips and bend at the knees. So it's a challenge for a lot of these guys who are 6'7", 6'8", especially when they're 330, 340 pounds. So that's why you want that, for center of gravity on your pass sets and run blocking. It just helps with body positions.
Speaking of moving guys up the field, from the group of your defensive ends and defensive tackles that went through winter workout, spring practice, the guys that are here, have any of them jumped out to you as taking another step forward that you were hoping to see this spring, summer, and winter?
I think the defensive end group as a whole has done an outstanding job. I would say I think Chop Robinson, I think Dennis Sutton, I think Adisa Isaac. I think those three guys they're on a mission right now. So they're working at a very, very high level. I'm really happy with all three of them. I expect big things out of all three of those guys this year.
Chuck, what makes Kalen as good as he is as a football player?
Who's that?
Kalen King.
Kalen King.
Yeah.
Instincts number one. Instincts. He's got really good football IQ. His prep is very good. He's just savvy out there. That's probably a better question for Terry, because he's, we've had cornerbacks and we've had safeties and we've had DBs who physically are probably ahead of Kalen, and I'm not saying that like he's not bad in any areas.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of getting at. Is that
no? He makes. I don't like. You can look at Saquon's game. You could look at you could say, okay, his physical traits are why he's such a good player. Kalen, on the other hand, he's got really good physical traits. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
He does an outstanding job, but I don't think that's what makes him an elite, a really good football player. I think he's just a guy who's been playing the game a long time. He's savvy back there. He's confident back there. I think that's what makes him a high-level guy.
Who do you think has made the biggest strides since the end of the season to now? Or maybe a group of players that stand out to you as really put in the work and are maybe ahead of schedule of what you would expect?
I mean, as it stands today, I'm really happy with a guy like KJ Winston. I think KJ Winston, ever since we broke from the season, he's been working at a high level. He seems like he's training with a lot of intent. He's not wasting any time, not that any of our guys do, but he just seems just unbelievably intentional. I think I've been really happy with another one of our defensive tackles, Jordan Vandenberg. I think he's a guy who it's starting to really click with. You know, he's been good in all areas since he's been here, but now he's starting to put all the different pieces of performance together at the same time. You know, he's weighing around 302 pounds right now. He's strong as a bull. He's another guy that just kind of jumps out to mind that I'm really happy with.
Thanks, Chuck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.